Srinath Ji Jaya Bala Gopal Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Giri Govardhan Srinath Ji Jaya Bala Gopal Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gaura Nitai 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Hari Nam Sankirtana ki Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuromilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Vyadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaivascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Nodavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, welcome to our study of Bhagavad Gita. So, I'd like to first express my congratulations and gratitudes to Brajapiya Mataji, Madan Gaur Prabhu, and Palika Mataji for having accepted this very wonderful initiation into our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. It's most auspicious. We're coming off of a very spiritually surcharged series of events, which is meant to propel us forward in our devotional life. So, last time we met, we talked about the 42nd and 43rd verses of the second chapter. And prior to that, we talked about being resolute in purpose by understanding how, by watering the root of the tree, all of one's responsibilities and obligations become fulfilled. And that root of the tree is devotional loving service to Krishna. And from here on forward, we're really acquiring more knowledge, more information to develop faith in this statement, to develop this intelligence, this vyavasayatmika intelligence, to be able to render service to Krishna. Because the fact is, the highest perfection of life is achieved when one begins to render devotional service to Krishna. That is a fact. And the question remains, when will that fact become prominent in my own consciousness, in my own heart? And so, we'll be exploring many things. So, Krishna makes some statements in the 42nd and 43rd verses. Anybody remember anything of note that we talked about last time? It's been 2 weeks, so memories may have faded a little bit. So we'll do a little bit more detailed review. What did Krishna say here?
The karma kanda process and then the real bhakti.
Okay, so Krishna is drawing a distinction between two processes, the karma kanda process and the bhakti process. Why does Krishna use the word men of small knowledge are attached to the flowery words of the Vedas? What is Krishna's objective in speaking in such a way?
Because he's saying that they don't see the bigger picture?
Because they don't see the bigger picture. So what is the smaller picture, if you will, that are explained in the Vedas? What are some of the...
If you do a sacrifice, you get good karma.
So the smaller picture would be, hey, if you do some yajna, some karma kanda sacrifice, you can obtain a lot of money. Right? Well, who doesn't want that? Sign me up. If you do some karma kanda sacrifices, you can get great intelligence so that you can be able to learn things. Who doesn't want that? If you obtain these karma kanda sacrifices, you can get a long life in some heavenly planet. And you can fly on celestial airplanes. Sounds pretty good. If you do some karma kanda sacrifices, you can get a very wonderful spouse, nice children, a career promotion, all these things. Sounds good, doesn't it? So then why is Krishna saying men of small knowledge are attracted to these things? Because those are still temporary. You get $1 million. How long can you enjoy it?
A year.
A year? That's a lot of red shirts and shoes.
I'm really crappy. I can't believe I made a joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah. 1 year. Maybe 10. Maybe 50. Maybe if you're really frugal, 100. But what after that?
Not forever.
Not forever. Right? Even if you attain some of the higher planets in this material world, still it is temporary. So where do we have eternal? In the spiritual world. All these karma kanda sacrifices relate to the material world. Right? So Krishna is saying that they look attractive, but it means you don't have full knowledge. Full knowledge of what? If I don't know anything of the spiritual world, then I'll look, what is the best within this? Right? I'll look at the best. And we give the example of the prisoner in the prison house. The prisoner in the C-class jail cell sees the B-class and A-class ahead of him. They have a bigger room. Oh, they have a thicker mattress. Wow, let me go to B-class. B-class sees, well, in the A-class, they have their own toilet. They have nicer foods. Let me aspire to go to A-class. But what happens when you get to A-class?
Still just jail.
It's still just jail. If you know that there's actually life outside, if you have no knowledge of anything beyond that, then you'll think, I've achieved perfection. The greatest, the best that can be achieved. So, Krishna is protecting us from this dangerous thought to be attracted to the best of a bad bargain. Why is this the best of a bad bargain? Because within the material world, still you have birth, death, old age, and disease. Adi atmik, adi bhautik, and adi devik. Right? So these things exist within the material world. Maybe in lesser degrees in the A-class facilities, but they're still there. So Krishna said in a prior verse that to become fixed, or 2 verses prior, in devotional service. But if thrown the temptation for some of these lesser fruits, one may become deviated. So the Lord is speaking to protect us. Right? He says that being desirous of sense gratification, opulent life, they say that there's nothing more than this. But is there more than this?
I hope so.
I hope so. Krishna is saying, and what do you want more than a few $1 million? 1,000-year life in beautiful celestial gardens, flying in beautiful airplanes, interacting with, beautiful people. What do you want more? What more is there? What do we want more?
There is happiness.
Huh?
There is happiness.
Happiness? There's no happiness
Peace,
there?
Happiness, no worry, no
Peace,
stress.
happiness, no worry, no stress. Any of us want that? What is the stress we have when we are enjoying these A-class facilities?
We're going to lose our
We're going to lose it. Because when our credits from that yagya are consumed, 1 coin, 2 coin, 3 coin, 4 coin, when the kid is on the pony at the store, they don't have those anymore. But their fear is what? Mommy, put another penny. Another penny. That's like our credits. We're enjoying, woohoo, woo. But eventually, our credits run out. And we know it's time to get off the pony and back to reality. So similarly, we may temporarily ascend to some of these higher planets by doing these yagyas. But after our credits run out, Srila Prabhupada says, like an airplane may ascend into the sky, but as soon as this begins to run out of fuel, it must come back. So similarly, these karmakanda processes, they yield temporary results. So there is still anxiety, there is fear, there is stress. If you read the pastimes of the different devatas, they're always fearful of being attacked. There's this quarrel between the asuras and the devatas, right? We read this in our different scriptures. So there is that fear of losing the position. So why is the spiritual world called Vaikuntha, which means free of miseries? Because everything is eternal. Think about it. If it's eternal, you won't have one fear, which is losing it. By definition, it cannot be lost. But now the opposite is also true. In the material world, everything is
Lost.
temporary, which means there is always bhaya, fear. Because everything's temporary. But in the spiritual world, everything is eternal. So, it's so simple. So in a realm of eternal and unlimited, what does unlimited mean?
No end.
End. The gulab jamun bowl never goes empty. There's no fear that I'll not get my satisfaction. The fruit trees are never empty of fruits. Everything is an unlimited supply, which then means
You don't worry.
you don't worry and you don't need anything. There's no, whatever you need is there. So there is full satisfaction. There's no more I wish. As soon as you wish, it's there. That's the spiritual world. That's the definition of it. So the reason it is free of misery is not just because of the nature of it. It's eternal. There's never anything to worry about. It's unlimited. So there's no hankering. As soon as there is some hankering, there is some dissatisfaction. So this realm is achieved. So how do we get there? Do we go on to Expedia or Kayak and say, I'm starting Detroit DTW, and this destination, Goloka Vrindavan International Airport? Is that how we go? No. There is a process to go to the spiritual world. And what is that process? Devotional service. That is bhakti. The karmakanda processes will keep us within the material world. Right? This is just a blow up of this bottom part. Right? So yes, we're in the middle. There are some higher planets, but it's still within the realm. So we have to be careful not to mix bhakti with these Vedic sacrifices called karmakanda. They are distinct. They are separate. Okay? So in summary, karmakanda, the goal is some enhanced sense enjoyment. In bhakti, the goal is trying to please Krishna. The result, temporary and limited versus eternal and unlimited. And the destination, higher planets of the material world, the eternal realm of the spiritual world. So the goal has to be clear. When we practice our own sense gratification, we're going to be in the ups and downs of material life. But as soon as we remember, I am part and parcel of Krishna. And that means I have a loving relationship with Krishna. And I begin to act in that relationship to Krishna. When I desire to please Him and not me, then I actually achieve eternal and unlimited happiness. It's counterintuitive, right? We think, when I want to enjoy for myself, then I'll enjoy. But that doesn't work that way, because we cannot be separated from Krishna. So by knowledge, we have to come to this understanding that by the practice of devotional life, one finds the path back to the spiritual world. So bhakti is distinct from karma kanda. And thus Krishna is saying, don't be attracted to the flowery words. Like in the forest, you may see a beautiful flower, but it may be poisonous. These material sense enjoyments is poisonous for us. Why? Because through attachment, we lose sight of a greater opportunity, a greater goal. And thus, Krishna is warning us, don't be bewildered. And this state of eternal bliss and happiness, Krishna is going to say later in the Bhagavad Gita, specifically in the 14th chapter. He's going to say that this bliss and happiness, this experience of eternal happiness and unlimited, it can actually happen even while embodied within this material body, even within the spiritual world. He's later going to say, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Brahma Bhuta, when one realizes I am servant of Krishna and begins to act in that relationship, immediately happiness comes. Why? No shotati, no kankshati, no lamenting, no hankering. Because one has everything they want, their relationship with the Lord. So this idea of bliss in the spiritual world is not idealistic or theoretical. It's experienced. And in our devotional life, we'll get glimpses of it. We get experiences of it. Unimaginable, inexplicable enjoyment, happiness in our spiritual life. Maybe during a festival like Rath Yatra or coming up on Janmashtami, maybe in some activities or some programs, some kirtan, something. We get glimpses of it. And those glimpses are us showing us that this is what exists eternally. So, but we have to remember how to get there. And that is by awakening our loving relationship with Krishna. Now, if we had full faith in these statements, what is the result for us? What would we do?
Well, we would just be happy now and not worry.
We would just be happy now and not worry. That would happen? Why wouldn't we worry?
Because we know this is just temporary.
We know everything that's giving us so-called trouble is temporary. And my eternal enjoyment is there. And what would I do? What activities would I do?
I would engage myself in devotional service.
I'll engage myself in devotional service. Why?
Because that is the main way of reaching the spiritual world.
That is the main way of reaching the spiritual world, to please Krishna. You were saying something?
I was going to say, because that's what you'd be attracted to. That's what would bring you joy.
Because that's what would bring you joy and happiness. Every day we choose our activities, what I'm going to do. Activity A or activity B, based on one formula. Which one will give me more happiness? That's it. Sometimes I have to pursue activity A that I don't like because I know the result is some happiness, like going to the office. I don't like going, but I have to go. Because if I don't, I won't be able to get some of the happiness I want. But at the end of the day, that is my criteria for evaluating happiness. Evaluating my options, right? So, if one has full faith in this, what else they'll do besides devotional service?
Nothing.
Nothing. Because anything else one would do would be a lesser activity, would have a lesser result. If I offer you 10 times to trade your $5 bill for a $100 bill, how many times will you make that trade? Every time. Because you're trading something of lesser value for something of higher value. So how one is going to become fixed in pure devotional service when one has faith? I'm trading some lower mundane activities for something of higher value. It's so easy. It's not so difficult to trade 10 times. You won't say, I'll do it about 8 times. I don't want to be discriminatory to the $5 bill. I like this $5 bill. It's nice. No. Is it difficult to trade? 10 times out of 10? Why are you so extreme? You're doing it 10 times out of 10? But it's simple. Lesser for lower. Lesser for higher. It's easy, right? So, then, why don't we do it? What is holding us back?
Ego. Still too attached.
Ego. Attached. Huh? Fear. Huh? Material happiness. It's a sense of proprietorship. All of these things, right? So we're going to see now in this next verse that we'll discuss, Krishna is going to help build our faith, right? And one of the things that hold us back from performing devotional service is, if I do everything for Krishna, what is my one concern? What is my concern?
What about me?
What about me? What's going to happen to me? If I do everything in bhakti, what about me, my family, this, that, and the other? We have a long list of what abouts, right? So Krishna is so brilliant. He knows all the excuses and reasons we give. And so see what he says in this next verse. And what does he say in the 46th verse? Someone can read it?
In the minds of those who are too attached to
46. Which one are you reading?
44.
Okay.
All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them.
This is a very interesting statement by Krishna. Okay? Anybody, before we read the purport, care to guess what is Krishna trying to say here?
That he's the bigger well.
That he is the bigger well. He's the ultimate well. And when you access the ultimate well, what happens to the other smaller wells? They're not important. How important is $1 million and material opulence and material happiness to us right now? Very important, right? But when one knows the bigger well, those become less important. But does that mean one doesn't gain the benefit of those other wells? What does Krishna say in the second sentence?
Similarly, all the purpose of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them.
This is a very important point. It is not an either or. All the purposes of the Vedas, these karma kanda sacrifices, they are also achieved in one who knows the ultimate process, the ultimate purpose behind them. What does that mean?
Of all to be known, I should be known.
Of all to be known, I should be known, that Krishna will say. But what does it mean that all the purposes of Vedas can be served? So by bhakti, what does one gain? He gains all the benefits of the Vedas. Plus one more thing. Love of Krishna. And access to the spiritual world. So by doing bhakti, our concern is, what about? What about me? What about my family? I may be missing something, right? That is the concern. If I do devotional service to Krishna, I'll be forgetting something else. Just like if one says, well, if I only water the root of the tree, I might forget one of those branches. We said, no. By watering the root, you'll actually nourish all the branches. So Krishna is making this point again. But he's saying very conclusively here, all purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. So all of the purposes we have in life, they're all served by the process of bhakti. And those of us have experience in the villages of India, we know we have small wells, one for washing clothes, one for drinking water, one for bathing. We have these different wells, right? That's how they exist. But if you live on the banks of a large reservoir of water, you have one well, one large reservoir serving all purposes. So similarly, they're not individual processes of spiritual life. One to protect me, one to give my family some love, one to give me resources. No. All one needs is served by the process of bhakti. But one must know what is the ultimate purpose of the Vedas. Otherwise, one will be lost. So let's read the purport.
The rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karmakanda division of the Vedic literatures are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of studying the Veda is to know the Lord Krishna, the primeval cause of everything. So self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with him. The relationship of the living entities with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The living entities are parts and parcel of Krishna, and therefore revival of Krishna consciousness by individual living entities is the highest perfection stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. Next.
Yeah.
O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family, like that of a chandala dog-eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic rituals and studied the Vedic literatures many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of Aryan family. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of Vedas without being attached to the rituals only, and must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. It is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of Vedic rituals, nor it is possible to study all the Vedanta and Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge and resources to execute the purpose of the Vedas. This is hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of all the fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by a great Vedic scholar, Prakasnada Saraswati, why he, the Lord, was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist instead of studying the Vedanta philosophy, the Lord replied that his spiritual master had found him to be a great fool and thus asked him to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. He did so and he became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand the Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in the Vedic wisdom, and the author and the knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna, and the highest Vedantist is the great soul who take pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. This is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism.
Okay.
What, can I ask what a dog eater is?
What's that?
What's a dog eater?
There's different classes of people coming from India. There's a class of individuals who take to the process of consuming dog. It's considered,
Because they're poor or?
you can say not necessarily poor, but certainly of a certain mindset. So it's considered a very low class personality. But even such person is eligible to perform devotional service. So let's see where to start. One must understand the purpose of the Vedas. What is the ultimate purpose of the Vedas?
To know Krishna.
To know Krishna. Right? To know Krishna. And what happens when we know Krishna? We obtain happiness by serving Krishna. Why serving? That's what? That's our natural position. Why is it our natural position?
Yeah, parts and parcels.
We are parts and parcels of Krishna. The part serves the whole. Right? So, Prabhupada says, self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with Him. As long as we think my relationship is I am master, I'll be subjected to being tossed like a rag doll in the modes of material nature. That's just a reality. Is until I lose this dominating desire and obtain this loving desire to be in relationship with Krishna, that's what happens. So self-realization means to know Krishna and my relationship with Him. That relationship is factual. Factual means it doesn't change whether I believe it or not. Whether I believe I am part and parcel of Krishna, I am part and parcel of Krishna. Whether I believe gravity exists or not, it exists. If I choose not to believe it or not, it doesn't matter. That's a fact. Gravity is there. Similarly, my relationship is one of being part and parcel of Krishna. So the question really is only, am I going to choose? I have the free will. We all have the free will. Whether I'm going to act in that relationship. So to know this, to know I am part and parcel of Krishna, to know my relationship, to know how to act, it requires knowledge. Knowledge. Right? It requires knowledge. So we know the Vedic scriptures are the source of knowledge. Right? But we have to be careful not to get misinterpreted knowledge. Like, I have my phone here, right? And if I'm sitting in a park and the wind is blowing all my papers away, I can put my phone on top of the papers, right? Now, this is now becoming a paperweight. But is this the purpose of the phone? But if I understand this phone to be a paperweight, is it a paperweight? To some degree it is. It's working. But have I understood the full purpose of this phone? No. It can do so much more. It can make a phone call. I don't need papers. I can read whatever I have in front of me on my, so much. So the Vedas, yeah, you can get some small temporary fruits from it. But is that the full purport, the full potency of the Vedas? No. It is a very small feature. Like, yes, this thing can hold paper down, but it has so much more that it can do. So what is the full potential or potency of the Vedas? Knowing Krishna. And participating in devotional service. So Prabhupada says at the end here that what is the last word in Vedic wisdom? Vedanta. When we say last word in Vedic wisdom, what it means is there's nothing more beyond it. Right? We might get layers and layers of knowledge. Right? But at some point we want to know, is this the end? Is this the ultimate? Because if I get some knowledge that's intermediate, I'm still waiting for that next revelation. Right? So the Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom. Right? And who is the author and the knower of this Vedanta? Krishna says in the 15th chapter, 15th verse. Vedaisha sarver aham eva vedo, Vedanta krud veda eva shaham. He is the knower of the Vedas, the compiler of the Vedas. Those two things he says. And Srila Prabhupada is quoting here. So Vedanta is the last word of all knowledge, and Krishna is the speaker and compiler of this knowledge. And who is the highest of all Vedantists? One who can sit in a very still meditative position for the longest time? One who has memorized the most Sanskrit verses? One who has is able to elevate themselves off the ground by their mental power? One who can produce a mango from their bare hand? They're the highest of Vedantists? Who is the highest of Vedantists?
Who chant the holy name.
Who what?
Chanting the holy name of the Lord.
Not just chanting the holy names of the Lord. Read a couple words before.
Great soul
Who?
who take pleasure in chanting the
Takes pleasure in chanting of the holy names of the Lord. This is the sign of our progress in understanding Vedanta. How much pleasure, attraction do I have to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord? Because of all the Vedas, who are to be known? Krishna. And what is chanting? Calling out to Krishna. Engaging with Krishna. So the ultimate conclusion, what one should do once we have understood the Vedanta, we should chant. Srila Prabhupada is very kind to us. He gave us the lesson of chanting from day one. In the first session of our seminar many weeks ago, the conclusion was given. Chant. And since then, how many times we have talked about chanting? Once? Once more? Twice more? Every week. Why? Because it is the ultimate knowledge from all of the Vedas. So our goal is to come to the process of having great pleasure in chanting of the holy names. So how to bring about this pleasure in chanting of the holy names? By chanting. By chanting. By following the regulated process of chanting, soon the ecstatic, spontaneous mood of chanting will emerge. How soon? Okay, we want quick results, right? We want soon results? Okay. So let's first analyze how long I have not taken refuge in the chanting of the holy names. So we can say, well, I am 25 years old. I chanted starting last year, so 24 years I did not. Is that right? That's this lifetime. What about the prior lifetime? Okay, another 100 years, 124 years. But what about the prior one? And the prior one? So we have gone millions and millions of lifetimes trying to taste the fruits of the material world. And they're all bitter, sour, and poisonous. And so we have very recently begun to taste the chanting of the holy name. But the taste isn't coming yet. It's not so sweet. What do we think? I've been chanting for 3 months. I don't have ecstasy of chanting. I've been chanting for 3 years. I don't have that. I've been chanting for 30 years. But for millions of years we have been away from it. So it takes some time. But how to develop faith? Because Krishna is telling us specifically this. You chant the holy names of the Lord. It will bring about all perfections of life. And Krishna is saying it. Our acharyas are saying it. and millions around are experiencing it. So the ultimate conclusion of all Vedas, the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism is to come to the process of chanting. So what else are we going to talk about for the next 10 years?
Chanting?
How to develop our taste and faith and commitment in the process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Because there's nothing more. How do I become determined? Chant more. How do I overcome my fear? Chant more. How do I overcome my envy? Chant more. My pride, my ego, what do I do? Chant more. It's the one medicine. It's the only medicine. If you're looking for more medicines, I'm sorry. It's a one-pill pharmacy. But it's so potent and so powerful that it can bring us from whatever position we are, even the lowest and most fallen, to the supreme perfection of life, where there's eternal bliss and happiness waiting for all of us. And we don't even have to wait until next lifetime. By the sincere practice of devotional service, one can experience the bliss of spiritual life. So it ends and begins and middle all with chanting. So, and let us not be swayed by the smaller wells of the Vedic knowledge. Yes, my phone can be a paperweight, but so much more it can do. And the ultimate purpose of the Vedas is to bring us to know Krishna, our relationship with Him. And when we know that, we call out to Him by chanting His names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So let us try to, with faith, understand what Krishna is guiding us to and take to the process of chanting. And now it is time to increase our chanting, to become more fixed in our chanting. Because the more we do, the more return we'll get. The faster the result will come. The more I run or exercise in the gym, the faster the result, the more perceived the result will come. And so we can pray together that we can gain strength in our chanting process. Okay. Any comments or questions?
Oh, I have 2 questions.
Yes.
So on the bhakti, Prabhu, so what is bhakti for the people who are not Krishna conscious?
What is bhakti for the people who are not Krishna conscious? Okay? Well, bhakti is Krishna consciousness. Bhakti means love to Krishna. There are levels of yoga. Right? Sakkam karma yoga, nishkam karma yoga, then jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, buddhi yoga, bhakti yoga. When one comes to bhakti yoga, one has realization of Krishna. Realization of Krishna, and thus one performs loving devotional service to Krishna. So bhakti, you cannot have bhakti yoga to someone else. Bhakti yoga by definition means loving service to Krishna. Krishna is the creator of all the yoga systems, all the yoga processes. So we may have love for someone else, we may have love for some other personality, but bhakti yoga is Krishna consciousness. They are inseparable. Just like I cannot separate heat and light from fire. I say I want the fire but not light. Or I want the fire but not heat. No, they're the same. So bhakti and Krishna are connected. Okay?
Next question, Prabhu, There is a statement here which says, so self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with him. So it's kind of a very strong statement. I think I asked this question to Guru Maharaj also on the...
And you've asked previously as well in Bhaktivedanta. Here, no, it's a good. Is there a different way? Is there a non-spiritual way to self-realization? You've asked a few times, right?
Because of different aspects of questions coming to understand more. So it's kind of a bottom line statement, right? So
self-realization means to know who am I. Who am I? Who am I? Spirit soul. Is that self-realization? Complete self-realization? Is that complete? No. What else do I need to know? Relationship with something, right? Because I don't exist independently. So who am I? If I say, who are you? You say, I'm Kaushik. But who is Kaushik? Well, Kaushik is son of so-and-so and so-and-so from this location. Right? You don't exist independently. Right? So self-realization doesn't mean, the first step is, I am spirit soul. So the Jnani yogis, they know they are spirit soul. So they abstain from matter. They don't interact with matter.
What does that
Meaning they don't get involved with anything material. So no money, no possessions. They simply renounce all things, saying this is all temporary. But what's the problem? They don't attach to anything. They try to detach from everything. So how long can we live detached from everything? Because we want to enjoy something. Because they don't have the other part of self-realization, which is I am spirit soul, which is part and parcel of Krishna. Now, that unlocks, then what is my eternal occupation? My function? My duty? It's servant of Krishna. So unless self-realization leads to bhakti, you have not self-realized. Because if self-realization leads one to enjoy the A-class jail cell, I have not realized I am part and parcel of Krishna. Which means I don't know who I am. So self-realization means to know Krishna and my relationship with Krishna. Both pieces are important. That's self-realization. Somebody may claim, oh, I'm a self-realized personality. Well, I can claim I am Mahatma Gandhi. Does it make me right? I can claim it. I can claim it very convincingly. I can dress like him. I can speak like him. I can be very convinced. But does it make me? No. What makes me is a fact. What makes one self-realized is this fact. That they know they are spirit soul and eternally servant of Krishna. But self-realizing isn't just knowing it. It's acting in it. Understand the difference? If I know I'm a doctor, but I'm not performing the action of a doctor, then I'm not a doctor. I have to act in that relationship. That's called vigyan. Realized knowledge. That I am spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Otherwise, we'd all would have been self-realized day one. Because we said, we're part and parcel of Krishna. Spirit soul. Done. I'm self-realized. Brahma Bhuta. Prasanatma. So the realization piece is what takes some time. And how will we get to that realization? Chanting. When in doubt, what is the answer to the question?
Chanting.
Have a high probability of being correct. You have a third question?
So Prabhu, faith is there, but the taste is not
Not there.
So it will take time, as you say, but even to feel the taste a little, like how to experience?
Some taste is there, otherwise you would not chant, first of all. But maybe the full taste we want is not there.
Like, why are you here? There's a million other places you could be.
There's some taste, there's some faith, there's some, you know what, I don't know it, but I have some faith it's the right thing to do. Right? So this is called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. In Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, there's the first level of Sadhana Bhakti. It means that the impetus for me to perform my different activities is my faith, or at least some confidence in the instruction of Guru and Shastra that it is best for me. So I do it. But from there, once perfects Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, they come to Raganuga Sadhana. What does one do in Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti? Same thing, chant. But now the chanting comes from an internal motivation. There's an impetus. This is nice. This is important. This is fun. So initially, it's external. But she keeps saying, chant, chant, chant. Everything Prabhupada says, chant, chant, chant. As Prabhupada said, what do we say? Can't. But I'm going to do. Just do it. So there's an external impetus. But by following that external impetus, one will evoke this spontaneous mood. It's called Raga Nuga Sadhana Bhakti, where the catalyst to do bhakti is internal because there's a nice experience. But if we wait for that to occur, by not doing anything, it will never happen. You know? It's like, I don't want to go to the gym until I have a fit body. Well, then you're never going to go to the gym. Right? So sometimes, well, I will chant when I have a taste for chanting. Right? That mood comes. Well, the taste for chanting will come from chanting. Right? So, you have some faith, you have some experience, and so by that you continue. And Rupa Goswami explains in the Nectar of Instruction that this taste for chanting, why it doesn't come, he compares it to a jaundiced person. Now when one is jaundiced, if you give a sugar cube to a jaundiced person, how does it taste to that person? Bitter.
I don't know what jaundice means.
Yeah, it's a disease that's prevalent in India. I would say a yellowing condition. Babies get it sometimes here too. They're like it's a yellowed condition. It's like it's a type of ailment, and you lose your taste buds.
Oh, okay, that's what I wasn't getting. Okay.
Yeah, and so if you eat a bitter neem leaf, how does that taste? Sweet. In a jaundice, when you're jaundiced, right? So what is bitter tastes sweet, and what is sweet tastes bitter. Rupa Goswami compares that to our condition. What is our jaundice? Avidya, ignorance. Ignorance of, I am eternal servant of Krishna. So, what is sweet to me is going to movies and buying more clothes and enjoying this, party and this, intoxicating. That's sweet. But actually it is bitter because it is creating more and more suffering. But it tastes sweet. And what is sweet, spiritual life, chanting early in the morning, reading Bhagavad Gita, sometimes feels bitter. But it's sweet. But it tastes bitter. So if you have jaundice, what is the cure for jaundice? We have a doctor here. What is the cure? You eat sugar cubes. Sugar tastes bitter. And what does the doctor say? Keep eating sugar. Keep eating sugar. Now when it tastes bitter, is the sugar bitter? No, my taste buds are. The chanting, it is sweet and full of bliss. But I'm not experiencing that. So the doctor says, keep eating sugar cubes. And by eating the sugar cubes, what will happen? The natural taste will again reawaken. And what is sweet will taste sweet. And what is bitter will taste bitter. So, in our jaundice-like condition, Rupa Goswami explains that one, takes to the process of chanting. Even if it's a little bit arduous, it's a little bit difficult. Because though it tastes bitter, it is actually sweet. And by that process, the sweetness will emerge when we cure ourselves from the jaundiced condition of ignorance, of avidya. Right? So, keep the faith, keep chanting, and it'll happen. It's guaranteed to happen, just like that sugar cube. It is by nature sweet. The chanting of the holy names is by nature sweet. The lack of our experience in that is simply due to our anarthas, our conditionings. It is not that it is sweet to one and not to the other. It is universally sweet. Why? Because Krishna is universally all attractive. We are all attracted to Krishna, whether we know it or not. Remember, to the female cockroach, the male cockroach is very attractive. But we don't find that cockroach attractive. Because the cockroach is not universally attractive. We may find the opposite sex attractive, but the tree does not find that person attractive. But everyone universally finds Krishna attractive. It is not a matter of taste. Why? Because he is the source of all beauty, all attraction. So certainly, if he is a source of all, his names must be also all attractive. Right now we want to talk about our neighbor and this name and that name and everybody else. But soon, from the immediate condition we recover, we'll only want to speak about the all-attractive Krishna. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question. So the goal of Vedas to know the Krishna. So is there any person, if he fully knows the Krishna, he will get the wisdom of Vedas?
You'll get the wisdom of the Vedas?
Like
Yeah.
without reading.
Yeah.
It's like this, so much ocean to read.
You'll not get the wisdom of the Vedas by reading the Vedas. You'll get it by the mercy of Krishna, who allows us to know him. We can only know Krishna by his mercy. If he chooses to reveal himself to us, he'll reveal. And how he'll choose whom to reveal? Who has desire. So, the Vedas will be revealed to you by Krishna. It's just like the illiterate Brahmana. I've told this story before, some ways I have. But the illiterate Brahmana was reading the Bhagavad Gita upside down, inside out. He had no ability to read the Bhagavad Gita. But his guru said, read the Bhagavad Gita daily. So he did. He had faith in the instruction of his guru. So he followed. And he was crying. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw him, he said, why are you crying? Is it because everybody else was making fun of him? They were. All the other Brahmanas were making fun of him. So-called educated Brahmanas. Because they knew he was illiterate, trying to read the Bhagavad Gita. They were what a joke. And he said, no, I'm crying because this relationship between Krishna and how he chose to become the driver of his devotee, Arjuna. He must love his devotee so much that he was willing to take such a position. And that depth of relationship between Krishna and Arjuna is so strong. And when I meditate on it, tears come from my eyes. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said, but I don't understand anything in this book. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you've understood everything in this book. Everything else is just a build-up to understand our deep relationship with Krishna. Knowing the modes of nature, knowing Nishkam Karma Yoga, all the... If you know Krishna, you know everything. Everything's included within Krishna. So, as soon as you know Krishna, you know the Vedas. That's what he says. Of the Vedas, I am to be known. So when you know Krishna, you know the Vedas. Knowing the Vedas isn't being able to recite all the different components, and in this chapter this is done and this, that. That's just knowing the mechanics. Knowing the Vedas means to know Krishna.
Krishna, some people don't accept that. They say that like if Krishna, like if we pray him, everything will go away from that and all. Why is that belief in people? Like they say that he is having the flute and what, like if we bring him to home, everything will be like that, it will go away and all. Due to that, some people don't even believe in that. Like though
Yeah.
they say he is the Supreme Lord, they say that this is there, so we don't keep him at home.
Some people will say if you go into the library, you'll go blind because reading is bad for your eyes.
People say that.
Oh, yeah. Some people say if you go into the gym, you might get hurt, so don't go. People can say whatever they want. Right?
This is why I don't talk to people.
Because you're intelligent.
Oh God.
No, I mean, we can talk to people, but we don't open the heart and hear. Because all kinds of philosophy will come. But on what basis? On what are they speaking about?
They're speaking from their own gain.
Their own ideas. So someone can say that, yes. But what does Krishna say? It means nothing what I say. It matters what Krishna is saying. Right? So Krishna says, I am your ultimate protector. He says, I carry what you lack and preserve what you have. So everything is going to go away because he has a flute? Okay, if that's your belief, all the power to you. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, to those who want to be bewildered, I will bewilder them. He says it. If you have desire to be bewildered and not know him, he will also facilitate that desire. He is so loving. And he says, I perpetually cast them in the shade of darkness. Because that's their desire. And if you have a desire to know Krishna, he'll facilitate that also. So people will say, let them say. If they truly have a humble position to know, then you can explain. But if that's their opinion and they're sticking to it, all the power to you. Good luck. People say so many things. Nonsense. If you ask my son, he'll say it's extraordinarily healthy to eat cookies before going to bed. I mean, he lives by it religiously. His sadhana on cookie eating is extraordinary. He's the best. Full time. Right? So we have to be careful who we hear from. Because there's no shortage of theories. What there is a shortage of is scriptural based knowledge. So that's why knowledge has to come from Guru Parampara. Otherwise, we're bewildered. So we should see what is the source of knowledge, where is it coming from, and then hear. Then hear attentively.
And when we worship Krishna, should we worship as Radha and Krishna together, or we should only think of Krishna and how should we?
You know, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're chanting Radha Krishna. Hare is speaking to Srimati Radharani, the energy of Krishna. They are inseparable. Like wetness and water are inseparable. Like heat and fire are inseparable. Radha and Krishna are inseparable. They are one manifested in two. They're not like our material idea of boyfriend, girlfriend. That is our material concoction. Radharani is the external representation of Krishna's pleasure energy. His Haladini Shakti. They are one embodied in two. So that's why we always say Radha Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay? Srila Prabhupada's father prayed. Any saint came to his house, please make my son a devotee of Radharani. Why Radharani? Because he knew if he pleased Radharani, he'll become a devotee of Krishna. We always approach father through mother. Mother has a softer heart. So we approach Krishna through
because we see these days if you talk something to someone, like they always want science. Show me the science behind what you are saying is true.
Yes.
So, especially in spiritual things, we don't. I don't know what is the science behind the spiritual which we can tell. Is there anything like that?
Yeah. That's why Prabhupada named his book Science of Self-Realization.
Excuse me, even I had the same experience.
Yeah.
One of my friend was asking for the same science proof, and
Yeah.
what she said was like, I write a book today and saying like, so and so what her name. Okay, I'm the Supreme Lord, and you have to pray for me. Years later, somebody finds my books and they started preaching that, see, I'm the great and pray my chant my name. So is it the same kind you people say like that? Even I have the same experience.
Those are good questions, right? Because anyone can say, oh, I am this and I am that, and then you worship this and you chant this mantra, and right, it has to have. So let's take the Bhagavad Gita as an example. What is the proof of its authenticity? The effect, the transformation of the heart. So you want scientific proof of the Mahamantra? You all want scientific proof of the Mahamantra? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. We did this little experiment in the seminar, right?
Yeah.
Tell me your favorite word. Give me 3 words. Give me one. Anything. Anywhere. Anywhere.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Blue.
Rasgulla.
Rasgulla.
What's that?
Chocolate, blue, rasgulla.
What's rasgulla?
Okay, come pick an easier one. It's a sweet.
Movie.
Huh?
Movie.
Movie. Chocolate, blue, movie. Ready? Okay, we're going to chant. Okay? You ready? I'm going to get a timer here. Okay, we're going to chant chocolate, blue, movie for 1 minute.
We have a new chant.
Ready?
Pay attention.
This is coming straight from Parampara.
Should we
Ready?
go right or?
Okay. However you want. You get comfortable and you chant. Chocolate, blue, movie. 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 Loud. Chocolate, blue, movie. 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 Okay, half of you have stopped. You cannot chant. These are 3 material words. Even they're very nice words. I like chocolate, my favorite color is blue, and I wish I was at a movie. Still, we cannot chant. Immaterial word. Now, we will chant the Mahamantra. 3 words. Hare Krishna and Rama. And see the difference in experience. Ready? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, that was twice as long as we chanted chocolate blue. Twice as long. By time, I just timed it. Any difference? Lot of
Seems
difference.
like you want faster.
Seems like it went faster. Because the holy names are not material. They are spiritual. There's a difference. There's a provable difference, a tangible difference between any material word and a spiritual. There's no other mantra you can chant over and over and over again, day after day after day, like this. So yeah, I can come up with some mantra, some random names, and say this is the Maha Mantra. But the application of that, by performing that, will yield no result. Whereas the result of applying the teachings of Krishna's instructions here in the Bhagavad Gita are tangible. And if you want proof, you want scientific proof, when we do a scientific experiment, we study before and after. Right? We look at before and after effects of certain environments. And I don't know if any of you did this, but I said at the beginning of the seminar, you write down 5 things you want to improve about yourself, anything, and you fold them up and put it into an envelope, and you seal it. And you write the date. If you're going to do it today, you would write the date of February 8th.
February?
Yeah, 6 months from now, 2019. You write that date. And you come to Bhakti Vriksha once a week. You chant the holy names of Lord every day. You honor Krishna Prasadam. And you read Srila Prabhupada's books. You do those things. And then you open that envelope 6 months later. And you'll see absolute, unequivocal, scientific proof in the power of these teachings. It's undeniable. It happens to all of us. So the proof, as we say, is in the pudding. The proof is in the experience. So there is a scientific basis that is perceptible. That's why Krishna says in the 9th chapter, 2nd verse, Raja Vidya Raja Goyam Pratyaksham. Sorry. Pavitra Mida Mutanam. I'm drawing a blank. But he says Pratyaksha Vagamam, which means there is a direct, perceivable effect from devotional life. Which means it's scientifically it's observable. But remember this thing about science. Material science is always wrong. What they say today, something different they'll say tomorrow. So since the history of man, the world was flat. And now it's round. And now some are saying it's flat again. They say the distance in space is so much. Oh, now we've discovered a new part of our galaxy. And tomorrow, a new part. What they understand in the human body, they make some theories. And then tomorrow it changes. That's science. But this spiritual science, it's never changed from the beginning of time. It has always said the exact same thing. Not based on what time of year it is, what the social customs are, whether Facebook and Twitter are active, or back in the olden days when nothing was. It works universally in all circumstances. Why? Because it's coming from Krishna. So the proof of this knowledge is in its application. When you start to apply these teachings, there is a tangible, perceivable effect. And that is why Krishna calls it Raja Vidya, the king of all knowledge. Or one of the reasons at least he calls it. Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I have one more question. I had talked with another friend, and what he said was like, I know whatever you are saying is right, but now I am like so and so. In my soul, maybe they are inside my body, but I am son of so and so, and I have to do all these jobs. I may get good deeds, I may do good deeds or bad deeds, and one fine day I'll die. So I don't know what my soul does. So he doesn't want to know where his soul goes and what again to rebirth or something. Currently I'm doing this life. I'm going to do what all is happening to me. It's good or bad, I'm ready to take it up, and I'll live like this. One day I'll die. So for him, how we will convince or tell all this?
That's a very prominent understanding. You know what? I'm not going to worry about next. I don't care. Right? I don't care. So, if your child did the same, you would slap him. If he says, I don't care about what happens after school, I just want to play. I'm not worried about, you'll say no, but how you'll maintain yourself when you grow old. And he'll say, I don't care, I'm not worried about that, I'm just going to play as long as I can play and not study. And you'll say, no, you have to plan for the future. No? You have to plan for the future. So how are we not planning for the future of our next life? What's the difference? We know the criminal, he says, I don't care, I'm just going to do these activities. I don't care about the consequences that come to me. And thus, they end up in prison. Is that intelligent? Is it intelligent not to plan for the future?
They kind of plan to be in prison, right?
Then that's where they end up. Yeah, they have to live with those consequences. So, one who doesn't care to plan for the future, they have that right. But whether they acknowledge what happens after end of life or not, the laws of karma are going to act. It's just like the ostrich. When he sees fear coming, what does he do? Put his head in the sand. And so he doesn't see anything coming. He's comfortable. My son used to do that. When he'd get scared, he'd run and put his head into the pillow. Is that intelligent? No. By putting your head in the sand, I don't see anything, I'm okay? That mentality is the ostrich mentality. I don't want to see, I don't want to know, don't tell me. Let me enjoy. So we have no choice but to secretly feed them some prasad. Try to, because they may not want to hear yet. It's okay. Don't fight. Don't get antagonistic. Find some subtle ways. But that mentality is foolish. You may not be able to tell them it's foolish, but you may be able to convince them it's foolish by giving the example of your child or some other way to explain to them that you should care for the future. You don't have to live in fear of the future. All you people, all you do is talk about that, sins and reactions and death. No, that's not what we talk about.
Who says that?
Some people do. They pick little things you want to pick on, right? They're biased, right? They're not objective. So, no, we're talking about how to find happiness. Main thing is let us not ourselves become bewildered. That is the hard part. That is the hard part. And that is why we have to protect, just like our children. We don't let them watch, violent films. Why? Because they'll become influenced by it. Well, ourselves, we have to be careful that we don't become influenced by these random thoughts. We have to protect our influences so that we can remain strong. But we can explain to others what we know and share. And again, it's up to all of us as individuals. We all have free will. It's okay? Any other questions or comments? Good discussion today. Okay. So we'll chant.